Um, what this content will be about: should blacks join the Republican Party? We originally started out in the Republican Party because of Lincoln, and we left and became a Democratic Party. But what I'm interested in knowing is, do you think that the Democrats have taken the black vote for granted, since they know that they believe that they're going to get it anyway? And who do you believe will be a better president for the United States of America in year 2024? My guest will be Jarvis Tolover. He is a Republican operative. He's a consultant. And if this video brings you value, please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And with no further ado, we get started.
That's it.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Raheem Bradley of the Underground Railroad Podcast, and today I am honored to have Brother Jarvis of Chicago and Illinois. He is a geopolitical strategist. He will help out with campaigns. He could run a campaign, and he could give consultation on a campaign. Okay, so he's rounded. He's the Republican Party. This is the guy to hire. Go ahead, brother. Make an introduction of yourself.
How's it going, Cliff? Thanks for having me again. My name is Jarvis, Jav, as a Victor, ARAS, and I am a registered Chicago Republican.
And you are
Consultant.
political. You are for hire. For council.
a consultant.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. And you know what, Jarvis, I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come on the Underground Railroad Podcast. The thing is, me and him both planned this for years, but the thing is, it didn't happen in our time, it happened in God's time, you know? And Brother Jarvis, I would like to ask you, when we're going to examine the Republican Party, former President Donald Trump, and abortion, and NATO, and Joe Biden. You want to ask you, Brother Jarvis, I'm interested in knowing, did blacks originally start out in the Republican Party after they came out of slavery?
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, because during the Civil War, how do I say it? Because Abraham Lincoln wasn't necessarily against slavery, but he did not want the United States to split. And essentially, because of the freeing of slaves, essentially, black people just show loyalty toward the Republican Party at the time. And upward until, I know in Chicago, blacks were Republicans all the way up till the 1920s or 30s, at least.
But you know what? It is one of the reasons that they joined the Republican Party that you belong to. It's because of Abraham Lincoln. And what did Abraham Lincoln do that was so significant to make blacks want to join the Republican?
Well, the freeing of slaves, the abolition of slavery in America is pretty much what Abraham Lincoln attributed to, and for that, African Americans show loyalty toward him and the Republican Party.
Okay. Is it Emancipation Proclamation? Okay. And I'd like to ask you something about President Abraham Lincoln. You know, it's recorded that he really did not want to free the black slaves. One, he was in a debate with Hamilton. I think he ran against Hamilton. He said, if he said what? He said the reason that I'm doing this is to save the union. But if I could do this without without all of this, I would send people of color back to Africa. Is that true or falsehood?
Sort of true. Um, I do not believe he was against slavery, and he did want to preserve the Union at all costs. So it was just one of those things that just happened, sort of like the act that Lyndon B. Johnson signed.
Mhm,
Essentially, what drew black people to the Democratic Party.
mhm, mhm.
So, yeah, to my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, he was not against slavery. He just wanted to preserve the Union.
Okay. Oh, I'm
Allah,
sorry. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Hey, you know what? The thing is about the Republican Party. You say how many times did Abraham Lincoln? I think he ran several times before he actually became president of the United States. I think it was 5 or 6 times.
Possibly.
Oh, okay, okay. And you know what? I would like to know that since black people in general have allegiance to the Republican Party because of Abraham Lincoln. I'm talking about during that period. Would you say that because he freed the slaves?
Correct.
But I would like to know, Brother Jabaros, what happened? You know what? Why do Democrats? Why did Democrats once black people? I hear some sound in the background, but once black people, people of color, left the Republican Party, and why did they leave the Republican Party and go over to the Democratic Party?
Just general geopolitics.
I
I
ask you,
know
do
here in,
you?
here in Chicago,
I ask you, do
for
you have like noise in the background? Could you? No.
I'm in a Starbucks right now. I had a
Oh,
meeting
okay,
prior to this, so
okay, okay.
you
It's
might hear the music or them singing something.
okay. But the reason is, you know what? I would like to know why did blacks abandon the Republican Party? What was the reason? Uh,
Just politics, voting blocks. Essentially, that's what it all boils down to. Just voting blocks. But I know here, particularly in Chicago, hell, black people are actually beaten physically and figuratively to
mhm,
become Democrats. Like in the 1930s and 40s, they refused to pave like streets in African American neighborhoods until they aligned themselves with the Democratic Party. They didn't repair sidewalks. They essentially allowed African American communities in Chicago, specifically on the west and south side, to fall because they wanted them to be folded into the Democratic machine.
hmm. Okay. And you know what? Those are some aspects that are involved. But I would like to know. Do you explain that? And that's a great point. I want to know if they abandoned the Republican Party and went to the Dem. Why is it that once Democrats went run,
And 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 and
they
and,
go ahead.
and just to say this, a lot of what I'm saying is just examples of what specifically happened in Chicago, and I'm guessing in other northern cities because I know tons of black Republicans in the South. They have a lot of them have never left the Republican Party.
Hmm.
By us being Northerners, it's a little different, but for the most part, most black people in the South have conservative values.
Hmm. And as you say that, what is the reason? What is the reason that the Democratic Party, they have a tendency, in my opinion, to take the black vote for granted and just take it for granted because they believe they're gonna automatically get it. Why do they take that's a lot of blacks' opinions. They take the black vote for granted because they just automatically believe they're gonna get it. Well, why, brother?
Well, that's because the Democratic Party pride themselves on being the party of the people or the party for minorities, the party of equality. And at the end of the day, I'm from Cape Town in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
um, from West Garfield. Black alderman, Democrat, state senator, state rep, county commissioner, U.S. congressman. And for the most part, you wouldn't even know that you were in America.
Yes, yes, yes. You wouldn't know that you was in America. So it's that. Why do you
It
say
is,
that, bro? Why you
and
say
it's
that? What are you talking about?
because
Why are you talking about when you comparing the north side to the west side
correct,
and the west
correct.
side to the north side? Is that what
Severe underdevelopment,
elaborate on that for me?
severe underdevelopment, severe underdevelopment. For instance, I met you at Can TV in
Yes,
the West Loop at the original studio. The
yes.
neighborhood wasn't so great years ago,
On
but now
Green
the
Street.
na-
Hmm.
correct. Now the neighborhood is thriving. I mean, they just went in, dropped a few dollars, and just boom. Now, if
Hmm.
we can do that, and the West Loop expanded and exploded in like 1 decade. I mean, it went from absolute shit, excuse my French, to like one of the most sought after neighborhoods in the city. I mean,
Hmm.
if you put a piece of property over there on the market, it would get eaten. I mean, it wouldn't sit on the market for 3 days.
No.
It wouldn't sit on the market for 3 days. And then the prices, the value of the land has just skyrocketed.
Hmm.
So you had developed downtown,
Hmm.
and they kind of abandoned the west and the south side, and then they kind of expanded to what we know as the south loop and the west loop, and
Hmm.
then they just pretty much stopped the development at those boundaries, and essentially that's I wouldn't even actually attribute all of that to political philosophy. A lot of that is just economics and gentrification. But I mean, at the end of the day,
What is it?
um,
Now, there's somebody that does not know what gentrification means. Can you elaborate on that and give us the etymology of that word?
all
Somebody,
right, I'm
somebody doesn't know.
third from a third grade perspective. That's when a underserved community is developed into a vibrant neighborhood,
Hmm.
and that can come from both private and public funding. It can stem from people who already reside within the community who go out and bridge or establish a relationship with corporations and get local authority involved and put a plan together and then develop it. Or you could just have just private investors come in and just systematically push out the people who are there already and then develop it and then bring in new residents.
So, what is the reason you live in Chicago? You got a mayor Brandon Johnson who may
Yeah.
be at one time, and you have Kim Fox. I would like to ask you about Mayor Brandon, but I want to ask you about Kim Fox. Why is when there's terrible crimes that are going on in your location where you live at in Chicago, in the United States of America, where people walk into Walmarts, they walk in the stores, or they ram automobiles into businesses, and mobs of people come out, but yet they might get caught, but they're released real quick. What is the reason? And what is your
Listen,
assessment? What is your assessment of Kim Fox anyway? Which she's leaving office.
so she's at, um, I'm trying to stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
What's actually happening in Chicago in regards to crime is actually bigger than Chicago itself. It's sort
Mm-hmm.
of like a nationwide thing, but it
Mm-hmm.
really only affects blue states or
Mm-hmm.
blue big cities. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the stuff that you see, like in Chicago, you will see in Los Angeles. You will also see in New York, um, sort of, kinda, in Baltimore. Um, I don't know what liberals are doing. I have not a clue. None of them make sense. I mean, um, there's a thing. Over policing is a problem, and under policing is definitely a problem. And what we are experiencing in Chicago is indescribable, but
Mm-hmm.
it is under policing to the on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And um, it's, I mean, I don't know what's going on, and personally believe that it's going to get far worse before it
Mm-hmm.
gets better.
Mm-hmm. You know what? When you talk about criminal activity and people ransacking stores and stealing and violent crimes and them being released in jails, why is it that the Republican states are harder on crime, but in Democratic states, you can do things that are violent and bad in impunity in some ways to get up out of jail? Can you explain that?
I'm a Republican, so I can explain the conservative mind of thought
Yes.
process. Um, yeah, if you pull out a Glock and stick it in a woman's face and tell her to give you her car keys, you're pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And you should probably be institutionalized. I'm not one for prison, but I mean, walking in the store, and the other day I was going to this
Mm-hmm.
7-Eleven by me, and some guy ran in and grabbed like a soda and ran out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. That's not, that's not something
Mm-hmm.
to call out the force for. But when you have people hijacking, a judge got hijacked here in Chicago. A
Yes.
judge, some
Yes.
guy or a group of individuals jumped out essentially with firearms and demanded her. She had like a Volkswagen or Volvo or something. She didn't even have like nothing luxury. She just had a simple car, a simple Subaru. I'm talking about a family car,
Mm-hmm.
and that. And she had a kid with her, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, statistically proven, I think somewhere around 80%, I don't want to misspeak,
Yes.
but I want to say somewhere between the 75 and 85 percentile.
Yes.
Most gun violence, the intentions were not to actually use
Mm-hmm.
a weapon. The
Yes.
weapon is just merely there as an intimidation tool. But
Yes.
because the criminal is not that bright, they
Mm-hmm.
end up perpetuating or actually using the weapon to hurt
Yes.
the
But
victim.
Javaris, why are the Democrats more
Listen,
liberal on
listen,
criminal activity
listen.
opposed to the Republicans, when
I,
there would be repercussions? What is that? What is that come from? What is the reason?
I can't even begin to rationalize why they allow people to do the things that they allow them to do.
Okay.
I mean, you have people walking around posing as the opposite sides. And these
Mhm.
people are the ones who are pushing it. So I don't put anything past anything.
Okay. And you know what, Jabara say? If you're saying he's a Republican, I would like to ask you if the Democrats are lack on crime, what are like weak on crime and economy and things like that, why do blacks? Why is it that blacks do not hold their um politicians, our elected officials in Chicago and around the world accountable? It's not. Why is it not accountability, and why is it amnesia? Okay, I'm talking about is when
Uh,
it's re-election time. Why? Explain that to me, brother.
I want to say about 50% of us
Yes.
just can't even keep up with a lot of the politics that
Hmm.
actually transpire. Because I mean, a lot of us are working. We work odd hours. The communities we live in, we're up against so much here in we're up against so much here in Chicago. At the end of the day, um, people just don't have the time to go to a community meeting. People don't have time to go to this or go to that. Or a lot of people don't even know what politicians are doing until it's like too late.
Hmm.
And that's actually bigger than us as African Americans. But just specifically when it comes to us, a lot of us, we're legitimately occupied by everyday life and challenges. And then I don't know. I think people just put their trust in elected officials. I'm guessing. I'm an active person, so I can't account for the people who don't participate
Hmm.
in the political process or participate in the political spectrum. I mean, I just from conversations I've had with individuals regarding like attending this or going to that or going to meet or this and that. A lot of people I know don't vote. B, um, a lot of them don't necessarily have the time to be involved in a lot of the process that happens in the political realm.
Wow. So
But
therefore, you're saying that the
but it's
Democrat.
changing. It's changing though.
Okay, talk to me. Talk to me.
It's changing. You're starting to see people who have realized that there's a lot of BS going on. I
Hmm.
was just in Lincoln Park the other day. I actually went to this gelato shop. This old Italian woman. She owns it. She makes everything from hand by scratch. So I used to work in the area. So I just wanted to go and surprise her. And I walked down Armitage Avenue, pretty much between Sheffield and Austin.
Hmm.
And they have, I think I may have seen one boutique on that block of business that was like a big box. It's like a
Hmm.
Walgreens or something. Everything else was like just small boutiques, mom and pop shops.
Hmm.
And the neighborhood is just thriving. And
Yes.
other people are realizing that. And they're like, well, how come that is developed over there or that is developed over there? And then you guys have been saying that we're going to develop this and we're going to develop that and we're going to provide this, we're going to provide that. And people are realizing that all of it is BS. Now the thing is, they got away with it for so long, but now
Yes.
with the economy the way it is, and with inflation the way it is, now people are really feeling the pinch
Yes.
financially.
Hmm.
So when people, when you're under pressure, you get to thinking,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then you look around and then you realize, well, that person don't seem to be struggling like I'm struggling,
Hmm.
or and then this immigration that has played a, a
I'm gonna
huge
get
part
you.
of it.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
but
Go ahead. Go ahead.
seeing some of the stuff that other people are allegedly going to receive or have received, or seeing money spent or money being allocated in a way that a lot of residents or citizens would prefer it not be spent, that's an eye opener. And I think that's what actually kind
Do
of
you do you believe that black people? I'm talking about black people. People of color will continue to get punishment from Democratic
no,
candidates and
no,
elected officials
no,
because of what you said. You would
the
they're
jig,
waking
the,
up. Go ahead,
listen,
brother.
the
Hmm.
jig is up, my man. The jig
Talk
is up.
talk to me.
The jig is up. People are realizing, like, oh, okay, my neighborhood looks like shit, but you found $1 billion for people who just jumped off a bus.
Ukraine. Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
with immigration. So now, I mean, that's actually that
Go ahead.
that was the callus for waking. I mean, that was the hump, that broke the camel back. That, oh no, now it's one thing to divert funds to do this or to do that. Now I'm struggling. I can barely feed myself. Housing is so expensive, and then someone gets off a bus from God knows where, and now they're in a hotel on my dime.
Hmm. But you say this is minimum. You would say it goes on in Republican cities, but it is minimized. Is that what you're saying? Because it will not be the crimes and all these things will not be done in impunity. Is
I'm
that
not.
what you're saying?
I'm not. First off, listen. In red states specifically, let's use Texas as an example. A lot of this stuff don't happen in Texas because everybody has a firearm. Everybody's allowed to protect themselves. So
Hmm.
you're less likely to run up on somebody in Texas and
Hmm.
request their car keys because that person may have a clock on them.
Hmm.
Florida the same way. People, I mean, Indiana. These people, I mean, some of these states got not only do they have, uh, they have open carry.
Hmm.
So I see a guy with a gun on his hip. I'm less likely to do something to him because I mean it's obvious. Like I said earlier, that most people only take weapons to criminal activity for the sake of intimidation purposes only.
Hmm.
So I know if that guy over there getting in his nice car in Texas has his firearm in his hip, I'm less likely to go rob him because I know he's going to shoot me.
Hmm. Hmm. So actually, brother, it sounds like as a Republican, you are NRA member and a card carrying member, right, brother?
Oh, of
What is
course.
important? What is importance of the NRA, and what is the NRA for people that don't know?
The NRA is the National Rifle Association. It's just a gun advocacy group. Who pretty much believe that they're
'Cause I
protecting.
happen to have known someone who was in the NSA,
Okay.
all right? And they don't know what they'll know now. I've been in their building with him. Did you see it?
Yes, sir.
And they
Some people don't know what NSA.
the National Security Administration. And when I walked up in there and they got video screens. I mean, from here to 35th Street.
Those street cameras, right?
Those are the screens like you watch on a computer.
Right, right,
Mm.
right.
All right. They got a room where they listen to conversations all around the country. All right. That's why I can say what I said.
Scary.
But
They let me go because he was an important person, and they figured if he was pregnant, it was all right. All right. They made a mistake, but I never forgot that.
wait a minute on the
Wow.